Welcome, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to Alliance San Diego, and thank you for coming into our space today. So my name is Ted Womack. I'm the Civic Engagement Manager here at Alliance San Diego. And again, we thank you for taking your time to come in today and have this really important conversation about figuring out what we need, right? Alliance San Diego is a human rights organization, and we work to build collective power by creating an inclusive democracy. And we do that by doing this here.
Alliance San Diego es una organización de derechos humanos y nosotros colaboramos para conseguir justicia para los humanos usando derechos humanos.
And here, what we aim to do today is have a conversation to claim our dignity.
Lo que queremos hacer hoy es tener una conversación para conseguir nuestra dignidad.
We want to figure out what we need so that we can move forward to do what the city did not do for us.
Queremos organizarnos para poder averiguar qué es lo que tenemos que hacer para hacer lo que la ciudad no pudo hacer por nosotros.
What we know is that these floods were a disaster to all of us, to all of our homes, and to the places that we've grown up our whole lives.
Lo que sí sabemos es que esta inundación arruinó lo que es nuestras casas y lo que ha sido nuestro hogar por muchos años.
As you can see, our building here today was also affected by the floods. So thank you for, just dealing with us and handling that with us. But we are among the community that's affected as well.
Como ustedes pueden ver, este edificio también fue uno de los que fueron afectados por la inundación. Así que gracias por estar aquí. Y como pueden ver, esta es parte de la comunidad que también fue afectada por esta inundación.
And, we are also a part of the community. I grew up on 42nd Street. So when I seen that damage on 42nd Street, it was literally heartbreaking to me because I never thought I would see something like that happen.
Yo soy parte de esta comunidad. Yo crecí en la calle 42. Así que cuando yo vi el daño que sufrió esa calle, me rompió el corazón saber por qué esto ocurrió, porque yo nunca pensé que sería algo que pasaría aquí.
And I imagine that all of you all felt devastated when you saw the damage to your neighborhoods and your streets and your homes as well. And I imagine that's why we're all here today to have this conversation.
Y me imagino que al igual que yo, todos ustedes están devastados por el afecto que la inundación tuvo a sus casas y por eso estamos aquí para tener esta conversación.
And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Andrea Guerrero.
Y ahora hablará Andrea Grego.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Alliance San Diego. So glad you could be here with us. Bienvenidos a Alliance San Diego. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy es que vamos a platicar de una estrategia colectiva que integra una estrategia legal y una estrategia de abogacía. What we're going to do here today is we're going to have a conversation about a collective strategy, a strategy that integrates legal strategy with an advocacy strategy. Y lo importante de esto es que queremos no solo perseguir una recompensa para el daño que hemos sufrido, pero también un cambio para que no vuelva a pasar otra vez. We want to make sure that we are going after the compensation that we think that we are due, everyone who has suffered for all the damages. But we also want to make sure that there's a change at City Hall. We want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Porque si no añadimos una estrategia política, voy a decir, va a volver a pasar otra vez. If we don't do that, this is going to happen again. Eso es lo que sabemos. This is what we know. Ya. Así es. This is what we know. We know that the city has long neglected our neighborhoods, right? Yes. Most of us in the 92113 zip code, including right here.
Yes. Also 91977.
And 91977. Do we have any other zip codes in here?
92113.
92113.
101.
And 101, 92101.
San Diego.
All right. Que viva San Diego. Okay, and so what we know is for decades, the city has been ignoring our communities. And more specifically, what we know is that in 2021, the city issued a report that said the storm drains in our communities were failing, and that if there was a heavy rain, they would flood. They knew that. And even though they got the resources and the clearance to clean those up, they did not. Right? Entonces, lo que sí sabemos es que en 2021 la ciudad hizo un reporte y sabía que el drenaje en nuestros vecindarios estaba fallando y que si llegara una lluvia fuerte, que iban a inundar a nuestras casas, coches, iba a arriesgar vidas. It was going to flood our homes, take our cars, and put lives at risk. They knew that. They knew that. And even though they knew that, even once they had some resources, not all the resources they needed, but once they had some resources, and once they had the permission to clean those out, what did they do? They invested in infrastructure improvements in Del Mar, in La Jolla, in places that were more affluent and more white. Right? They had a duty. They had a duty to distribute those resources where they were needed most. And where they were needed most were in our communities. Am I right? Okay. Right. Entonces, aunque sabían que necesitaban invertir en nuestros vecindarios, decidieron con los recursos que tenían, los permisos que tenían, decidieron invertir en lugares como Del Mar, La Jolla, en otros lugares que tenían más recursos, personas más afluentes, más blanco, quiero decir, ¿no? Y eso no debe de pasar, ¿no? Y por eso estamos aquí para reclamar nuestra dignidad. We are here to claim our dignity, right? Okay. And we do that with a collective strategy, because if we do it one person at a time, we're not going to get the kind of change we need. We don't need little change. We need big change. We need to be able to live and thrive in our communities and know that the infrastructure in those communities will protect us, not put us in harm's way, right? Necesitamos saber que podemos vivir en nuestros vecindarios sin el miedo que algo va a pasar, que la infraestructura nos va a proteger, no va a hacernos daño, ¿no? Entonces, aquí tenemos con nosotros los abogados de Singleton Schreiber. Yo soy abogada. Yo no llevo estos tipos de casos. Trabajamos en los casos de derechos humanos. Pero cuando yo estaba buscando quiénes son los que pueden ayudarnos, que tienen la integridad y la calidad para juntarse en una estrategia colectiva, solo había un firme, un bufete de abogados, y era Singleton Schreiber. When I was looking around for the attorneys that could help us, the attorneys that would be willing to be part of a collective strategy and that were good, very good, there was only one law firm, and that was Singleton Schreiber. Singleton Schreiber. So what they're going to do is they're going to share information about who they are, how they work, and what they are offering to this collective strategy. There is no pressure here today. If you think you are better off working in a different strategy with a different lawyer, that's okay. We wish you well, Godspeed. But if you think that joining forces through a collective strategy and working with this law firm and Alliance San Diego is going to yield results, then we invite you to sign up, and they'll have attorneys and people available after to do that. Lo que vamos a hacer es que los abogados van a presentar la información sobre su trabajo, cómo funcionan, qué ofrecen, y si deciden ustedes trabajar en una esfuerzo colectiva, pues puede hacerlo, puede firmar con nosotros, van a estar disponibles después, ¿ok? Si deciden que no, que tengo mi abogado ya, tengo mi estrategia ya, no hay ningún problema, no hay ninguna presión, que Dios te bendiga, ¿no? También antes de pasarlo a los abogados, quiero compartir con ustedes que abajo en la mesa del primer piso, de planta abajo, hay recursos ahí sobre, varias cosas. Hemos invitado varias organizaciones a compartir los recursos que les están ofreciendo para sus necesidades inmediatas. Está abajo. También quiero reconocer que el Consulado de México está aquí. Si quiere pararte, la cónsul de protección está aquí, Patricia Pinzón, con Víctor. So before I pass it to the attorneys, I just want to let you know that we have resources downstairs on the table from various organizations to meet your immediate needs. And I did want to recognize that the Mexican consul was here, and they are also offering services. If you are an immigrant, not only from Mexico, but if you are an immigrant and you have additional questions about your immigration status and how that might interact with what's going on here today, Alliance San Diego does do free immigration legal assistance, and Michelle in the back there is the person that you can go talk to afterwards for a free consultation. Si ustedes son inmigrantes de México o cualquier otro lugar y están preocupados por su estado, Michelle ahí puede ayudarle, es la abogada que trabaja con Alliance San Diego, que ayudamos personas sin cobrar, ¿ok? Ahora voy a pasarlo al Brett Schreiber, que es el partner en el bufete de Singleton Schreiber y un buen colega. Gracias. There you go.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Brett Schreiber, and I am the founding partner of Singleton Schreiber. I'm also here with one of my senior lawyers, Dominic Martini.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Brett Schreiber y soy uno de los fundadores de esta oficina de Singleton Schreiber, y estoy aquí con uno de mis abogados mayores, Dominic Martini.
So, first off, I want to say that I am sorry that we are meeting all of you under these circumstances. But I want to use this as an opportunity to tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how we can help this community.
Primero que nada, quiero decirles que lamento mucho que nos estemos conociendo bajo estas circunstancias, pero quiero tomar la oportunidad para explicarles un poco sobre quiénes somos nosotros y qué es lo que podemos hacer por ustedes.
As you can see here, what I say on this slide is we are local lawyers, first and foremost. We are from this community. If you work with us, you don't have to get on the 405 and drive 3 hours to meet with us.
Como pueden ver, nosotros somos abogados locales y nosotros estamos aquí en San Diego, y nosotros no somos una oficina que tienen que ir al Freeway 405 y manejar 3 horas para conocernos.
Also, we are ingrained in this community as much as all of you are, and have been here for much of our entire lives.
También somos parte de esta comunidad que ha estado aquí casi por todas nuestras vidas, y hemos vivido aquí en San Diego por la mayoría de nuestras vidas.
As I'll talk about in a moment, because of the work we do, we have become essentially experts at what we call unnatural disasters like what happened in this community.
Dado el trabajo que hacemos, nosotros nos llamamos expertos de desastres que no son naturales.
And I think lastly and most importantly, we are trial lawyers, which by definition means we go to trial to get the accountability that our clients need and deserve.
Y algo muy importante es que nosotros somos abogados de juicio, así que si necesario, nosotros vamos al juicio, al tribunal, para conseguirles la justicia que ustedes merecen.
I'll tell you a little bit about where we started. Many of you will remember the wildfires that struck San Diego in 2007.
Les contaremos un poco de quiénes somos. Como ustedes se acuerdan, nosotros somos de los abogados que empezaron con los incendios que ocurrieron en el 2007.
That is how we started in holding corporations and government entities responsible for harming our community.
Así es como empezamos nosotros. Somos un grupo de abogados que mantienen culpables a estas entidades que son los que tienen la culpa por estos desastres.
Like you, these were not cases we wanted to have. This was not work we wanted to do, but it was work that we had to do to help the people in our community who had been harmed, in that case, by a utility company that elevated its profits over the safety of the people it served.
Al igual que ustedes, nosotros no queremos este tipo de casos, pero son casos que tenemos que enfrentar, dado por estas compañías de utilidades que prefieren ganar más dinero que tener la seguridad de sus clientes.
And since that time, we have grown to be one of the largest consumer-based law firms in California, if not in America.
Y desde entonces ahora somos una de las oficinas más grandes basadas en sus consumidores, diríamos que en todo California.
We have over 60 lawyers, 20 offices throughout the western United States, and over 270 staff, including licensed social workers and other support that recognize the importance of serving the entire person and not just their lawsuit.
Tenemos más de 60 abogados, 20 oficinas por el oeste de los Estados Unidos, y nosotros tenemos varios recursos que no solo se enfocan en el caso de nuestro cliente, sino en las maneras que podemos ayudarles de otras maneras.
As everybody here probably saw in the news 6 months ago, another utility company, this time in Lahaina, in Maui County, Hawaii, caused a deadly and devastating fire that completely destroyed the community.
Como ustedes saben, hace unos 6 meses en la comunidad de Lahaina en Hawái hubo un incendio terrible que puso el riesgo de varias personas, y nosotros hemos estado involucrados en ese incendio.
Our team has represented over 20,000 victims of unnatural disasters since 2007, and I would put that track record up against any law firm in America.
Nosotros llevamos más de unos 20,000. Tenemos más de unos 20,000 clientes por estos desastres que no son naturales en contra de compañías de utilidad, y esto es algo que nosotros tenemos que nos hace diferentes a otras firmas de abogados.
We currently represent over 2,000 people in Maui. Those range from people who owned their homes and their businesses to people who were renting their homes and lost everything.
Nosotros representamos a más de 2,000 personas por este incendio que ocurrió en Lahaina, y estos son diferentes tipos de clientes que eran dueños de su casa, que tenían negocios, o solo la gente que rentaba también.
Whether that was someone who lost their home or business because it burned to the ground, because it was damaged from the flames and the ash and the soot, or tragically because lives were needlessly lost. That is the spectrum of people that we represent in circumstances just like these.
Son varios tipos de clientes que representamos en estos tipos de casos. Por ejemplo, en el incendio, personas que perdieron su negocio, personas que perdieron un ser querido o que solo fueron afectados por las cenizas del incendio.
To our west, we currently represent approximately 1,200 people in northern New Mexico who were similarly harmed because the government allowed a controlled burn to become uncontrolled and to destroy communities throughout northern New Mexico.
Además, en el norte de Nuevo México representamos a unos 12,000 clientes que fueron afectados por un incendio que el gobierno dejó que se expandiera, no lo controlaron y afectó a toda esta comunidad de Nuevo México.
And I share these stories because while we are San Diego based, when we move into these communities, to serve these communities and to help these people, we are there to stay.
Y compartimos estos casos con ustedes, que no son solo de California, para que ustedes sepan que cuando nosotros llegamos a una comunidad, llegamos a ayudarlos y quedarnos ahí para ayudarlos lo más posible.
And why that's important is because we have all seen lawyers from throughout this state come into this community in the last few weeks, and I think you have to ask yourself, are they here for the long term, or are they here to make a quick buck?
Y queremos que ustedes se pregunten, ustedes saben que durante estas últimas semanas han venido varios abogados para ayudar en estos casos, pero queremos que ustedes se pregunten si ustedes creen que ellos están a largo plazo o solo están aquí por un momento.
And I share that with you because I think the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And our behavior has always shown that we are here to help the people, we invest in the community, and we proceed to do everything in our power to rebuild those communities that have suffered losses like this one.
Y compartimos esto porque nosotros creemos que las acciones del futuro se pueden predecir con acciones del pasado, y con nuestro pasado nosotros siempre hemos apoyado a nuestros clientes, invertimos en ello y hacemos lo mejor para ayudarles.
So this brings me to another important point. My hope, and part of our strategy that we'll touch on, is that there will be accountability by the city, and there will be a system created that allows for a settlement solution.
Entonces lo que haremos aquí es que nosotros vamos a hacer una estrategia y tenemos la esperanza de que haremos al condado culpable por sus actos y que llegaremos a un tipo de oferta para resolver esto.
And I'm sure there'll be questions about that in the end, and we can talk about, but I also want to point out, I don't believe there is another law firm in this state that has taken more money from the city of San Diego on behalf of people who've been victimized by their conduct than the people who are sitting in this room.
Nosotros creemos que no hay ningún otro lugar que ha podido conseguir más dinero para sus clientes por compañías que no tienen a sus clientes seguros como en este cuarto.
And why that matters is because the city and their insurance companies, they know who the settlement lawyers are and they know who the trial lawyers are. I recognize that resolution is generally in everyone's best interest, but sometimes you gotta punch them in the face.
Y esto es importante porque el condado sabe que hay dos tipos de abogados, abogados que van a ir al tribunal y los que consiguen una oferta, y aún así es importante porque a veces les tenemos que pegar en la cara.
So I've touched on some of this, but you got to ask yourself what sets us apart from all the other lawyers who are knocking on doors and handing out flyers and doing whatever they're doing, probably watching us on Facebook Live. We welcome them as well.
Y eso es importante porque hay muchos abogados, posiblemente varios que solo están pasando papeleo, pero puede ser posible que ellos nos estén viendo por Facebook y les mandamos un saludo.
As I said, we have represented more people who've suffered harms like this than any firm in the country. We've recovered over $2.5 billion on behalf of those folks in the last decade.
Nosotros hemos recuperado más de 2,5 billones por nuestros clientes que han pasado por este tipo de desastres.
And I think what's most important about what separates us from so many is we recognize the importance of the 360-degree support that our clients need when they have lost everything.
Lo que nos hace diferente de otros abogados es que nosotros vemos el ángulo 360 de qué es lo que necesitan nuestros clientes.
Because I don't care what the trauma was, whether it's a car accident, a product liability claim, or an unnatural disaster like this.
Porque a nosotros no nos importa qué tipo de trauma sea, ya sea un accidente de auto, un producto fallido o cualquier otro caso.
When something like this happens, the common thread is that people have financial insecurity, housing insecurity, food insecurity, and job insecurity.
Porque cuando algo sí pasa, hay varios problemas. La gente tiene problemas de hogar, problemas financieros, problemas de auto.
And so it's important that you serve the entire person. It's not just about getting you money from the city. It's about providing a service to help to get you back on your feet in all ways.
Así que esto es importante porque no es solo sobre conseguirles algún tipo de dinero, sino es también de poderles dar todos los recursos que ustedes ocupan para que vuelvan a ser la persona que eran antes.
We have 270 people in across all of our offices, not because I want to have 270 people. It's because if you do this job right, you have to have that many people to provide the service and the support that we do.
Tenemos 270 empleados, no porque queremos, pero porque si se va a hacer un buen trabajo, necesitas ese aumento de personas para proveer un servicio excelente.
That's where our case managers, that's where our social workers, that's where our nurses, that's where all of those individuals come into play. We as the lawyers, we're like the lead. I'm like the front man in the band. But Mick Jagger or whoever it is, like, can't play the song unless you got the full band behind you.
Por eso tenemos manejadores de caso, enfermeros, trabajadores sociales, porque aunque los abogados son los líderes, no se puede hacer un trabajo sin ese grupo de trabajadores respaldándolos.
I'm going to anticipate a question that I know one of you is thinking. Is this a class action? The answer is no.
Voy a anticipar una pregunta que ustedes tienen, que es la pregunta de que si esta es una acción de clase, y la respuesta es que no lo es.
We handle these claims as mass actions, which means every claim gets worked up individually, and every claim rises and falls on its own merits.
Estos casos van a ser de acción masiva, significando que cada caso se crea individualmente dependiendo en la necesidad de cada persona.
It's not about getting a big pile of money and then dividing it up equally amongst everybody. It's about treating every loss as an individual loss and compensating it accordingly.
Esto no es sobre conseguir alguna suma de dinero y dividirla igualmente entre todos, sino es que cada caso sea individualmente y sea tratado de esa manera.
When you do this work, you recognize the civil justice system can often only take us so far. So there needs to be a political strategy as well.
Cuando haces este tipo de casos te das cuenta que el sistema de justicia no es solo suficiente y por eso necesitamos una estrategia legal.
This is why we have joined forces and locked arms with Alliance San Diego, because they recognize, just as we recognize, that there needs to be a political advocacy strategy along with a legal and litigation strategy.
Por eso nos hemos juntado con Alliance San Diego, porque sabemos que necesitamos una estrategia política y también una estrategia legal.
You have all started to see in the last couple of weeks the city of San Diego and Mayor Gloria holding press conferences and talking about some steps that they want to take to help. I know.
Ustedes han visto que en el condado el alcalde Gloria ha tenido unas conferencias de prensa para empezar a tomar un poco de pasos.
So far, waiving fees and doing some steps for storm-related repairs are a step, a small step, but it is a step in at least the right direction. But hold on.
Hasta ahora han habido pasos que son pasos muy pequeños, son en la dirección correcta, pero aún así son pasos muy cortos.
But that is why there needs to be collaboration with both litigation and using our political influence, their political influence, and the political influence of the people in this room to get those baby steps to actually become giant leaps in moving this community forward.
Por eso hay que colaborar con la litigación, nuestra influencia política, la influencia política de Alliance San Diego y la influencia de todos ustedes que están en este cuarto.
And to that point, we are dealing with this right now in both Maui and in New Mexico.
Y eso es algo que estamos haciendo ahorita en Maui y en Nuevo México.
The state has created a fund in Maui that is insulting in terms of trying to compensate people for their losses.
El Estado en Maui ha creado una ayuda financiera que en realidad es un insulto por los daños que sufrieron estas personas.
They've put up $150 million to solve a $6 billion problem. That math doesn't math.
Han ofrecido 150 millones de dólares por un daño de 6 billones, algo que no tiene sentido.
But I will say, while it is offensive, it is at least a step. And now we are working with and engaging the governor and the legislature and the community leaders to say, all right, nice try, but now let's work together to figure out a solution that will actually help to rebuild this community.
Y aunque sea un insulto, sí es un paso que entonces nosotros estamos trabajando con el gobernador, legisladores y líderes de la comunidad para que entonces podamos tomar un paso grande.
In New Mexico, the government created a several billion-dollar fund that they've had FEMA try to administer. It's been an abject disaster.
En Nuevo México se creó una funda de varios billones de dólares que están queriendo ofrecer, pero ha sido un completo desastre.
My law firm alone has filed 7 individual lawsuits against FEMA to get the leadership that is in the role of administration out so that we could get real people who understand the real problems on the ground in.
Nosotros tenemos unas activas 7 demandas contra FEMA para que nosotros podamos entonces traer a los líderes que sí puedan ayudar.
And just last week, that FEMA director resigned.
Y solo la semana pasada el director de FEMA renunció.
And that's my point, folks. It's not just about litigation. It's about politics. It's about collective strategy.
Y ese es mi punto, que no es solo sobre litigar, sino que es también de tener una estrategia colaborativa.
All right, I'd be remiss if I finish my comments without some practical tips. Whether you sign with us or not in this case, these are things that everybody in this room needs to do, and I think we have some handouts that will summarize this.
Ya sea que ustedes firmen con nosotros o firmen con otro abogado, les queremos dar unos pasos de consejos y de unos recursos que deben de tomar.
So the only way that these cases will be proven is if we provide the data for our experts to be able to testify how the city's failures resulted in the harms in your communities.
La única manera que podemos llevar estos casos es si nosotros conseguimos la información y los reportes que prueben que la falla de la infraestructura por la ciudad es lo que llevó a estos desastres.
Understanding where the high water marks and mud lines are helps us to understand exactly where this water was and how the city's infrastructure failed.
Estas líneas que marcan dónde llegó la lluvia son importantes para saber qué tipo de daños ocurrieron y cómo es que el condado de la ciudad falló.
This is obviously an example of one location. Here are some others.
Aquí hay varios ejemplos.
And this is what everyone in this room needs to go back to their homes that were damaged and do today. Take the photographs, use a tape measure, and include other objects in the picture so that there is scale.
Eso es lo que nosotros necesitamos que ustedes hagan este día de hoy. Vayan a sus casas, tomen fotos y con un tape measure o con una regla, lo que puedan, fíjense qué tan grande estuvo donde llegó la agua y pongan otros objetos grandes para poder compararlos y tomen fotos.
Feel free to take photos of this slide. We also have a handout that you can take in paper or take a photo of before you leave.
Pueden tomar una foto a la pantalla ahorita si gustan o también vamos a dar unos papeles con estos pasos.
This information will be critical for civil engineers, for hydrologists, and for experts that we have already retained. Trust me, this wasn't my idea. Our hydrologist who is already on board has told us they need these data points so that they can actually map these floods and how various communities were impacted by it.
Nosotros tenemos el consejo de nuestros expertos de agua y ingenieros que ellos quieren que ustedes consigan estas fotos para poder empezar con esta documentación.
So if you take nothing from today, do this. It will help you to help yourself going forward.
Así que si van a hacer algo hoy, por favor hagan esto que les va a ayudar a largo plazo.
Many of you may know this, but I'm sure some people in this room don't. Unlike suing any other entity in the world, when you sue the government in California, you have 6 months, not 2 years, not 3 years. You have 6 months from January 22nd to file a government claim.
Para los que no saben, cuando vas a demandar al gobierno, tienes 6 meses para conseguir tu reclamo, así que esto sería 6 meses del 22 de enero de este año que tienen para presentar su demanda.
Do not wait, do not delay. The law is not in your favor to get relief from this 6-month deadline.
No esperen, por favor, ya que la ley no está a su favor en este caso.
So anyone we work with, we will take care of preserving those claims, and simultaneously we'll be engaging with the city's leadership and exerting the political influence that we, our friends at Alliance, and everybody else who will lock arms with us has, so that we can work towards a solution over the course of the next 6 and 12 months and beyond.
Así que nosotros lo que vamos a hacer en los próximos 6 a 12 meses es mandar estos reclamos por ustedes y utilizar nuestra influencia política con nosotros, nuestros amigos de Alliance San Diego, para llegar a un tipo de decisión política.
So everybody always asks, what does it cost me? Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you. You're going to get nothing. You're going to learn anything. You get what you get with me. All right? So the same guy who's talking to you right now is going to be the same guy who you call and talk to on the phone. So if you like that, great. And if not, then I'm probably not your guy.
La pregunta que varios de ustedes tienen es entonces ¿cuál es el costo? Y el señor Schreiber está diciendo que él es muy honesto y él es muy franco con estas cosas.
All of the costs, the experts, the engineers, the mapping, the filing fees, the depositions, all of that, that's my money. I advance it, doesn't cost you anything.
Todos los costos que se necesiten para estas demandas, consiguiendo expertos, reportes, cualquier otro tipo de expertos y dinero que tengamos que gastar, es dinero de nosotros. Ustedes no tienen que pagar esto durante el proceso.
Unlike the city that has an army of in-house lawyers and outside lawyers who they pay $500 an hour for, I assume most people in this room don't have a couple $100,000 to go out and hire a lawyer.
Al contrario de los abogados de la ciudad y varios otros abogados que cobran como 500 la hora, nosotros no funcionamos de esa manera y sabemos que varios de ustedes tal vez no tengan esos recursos.
We only get paid if we win, and our fee in this case of that amount is 25%.
Solo nos pagan a nosotros si nosotros ganamos. Si no ganamos no nos deben nada y solo es un 25% porcentaje de lo que le consigamos.
If we lose, we get nothing.
Si perdemos, no conseguimos nada.
And so with that, I want to open the floor to questions. Couple of things I was told as a public service announcement. If you are asking questions off of Facebook, they will be fed to us. I think if you speak, it will be broadcast into this room, so you might want to enter that into a chat. And then I also would be remiss if I didn't introduce you to our intake team. You guys could step over here, including Juliana, who's done a great job interpreting. So if you have questions after this, again, if you take the fee agreement, go home with it. There is no high pressure sales pitch here, folks. All right? But we are here to help. We are here to serve. Now I will stop talking and yield the floor for questions.
Ya es hora de preguntas para quien tenga algún tipo de pregunta. Creo que las preguntas de Facebook también van a llegar en vivo y esto es nuestro departamento de intake si tienen algunas preguntas.
Yeah, and one thing, we're going to work our way from the back over right now. If your questions are kind of more general, I am happy to answer them in this setting. If they are very specific to your case and your family, it's probably best if we have a private conversation outside of the group setting.
Si tiene preguntas generales, podemos preguntarlas en este momento, pero si son un poco más detalladas, podemos tener una conversación más privada.
In the purple shirt in the back. Yes, I'll repeat your question too.
Okay, I just have a general question. Is there a deadline if we were to choose to go with you? Do we have a deadline to submit like paperwork or whatever we have to submit?
So the question was, is there a deadline to sign paperwork with the lawyer?
La pregunta es que si hay una fecha para que se tenga que mandar el documento con los abogados.
The answer is no.
Y la respuesta es no.
But understand, to prepare a government claim is not something that we can do overnight. So if you call me 5 months and 25 days into this thing, I'm probably going to tell you I can't help you because I can't do the work fast enough to get a proper claim presented under the deadline.
Pero hay que tener en mente que para llenar un reclamo contra el gobierno es algo que toma mucho tiempo, no se puede hacer durante una noche, así que si se comunican con nosotros en 5 meses y 25 días de hoy, lo más probable es que no podamos ayudarle.
I think best practice, don't wait more than 5 months from January 22nd. That would be the last day that I would ever think that anyone would want to delay on this.
La mejor práctica es que no se tome más de 5 meses del 22 de enero. Yo creo que con ese tiempo sería suficiente.
I had another question here that I'll just answer on the fly. What if you can't get good photos or the evidence is gone? Do your best. The difference, so this is, we deal with this every day. Oh, I'm sorry. You got to do the question first.
La pregunta es ¿qué tal si no puede tomar foto o si la evidencia ya no está presente? Así que la respuesta es que hagan lo mejor que puedan hacer.
In fire cases, it's often all gone. South Lahaina is completely gone.
En casos de incendio, normalmente la evidencia ya no está presente. Por ejemplo, en el sur de La Jaina, toda esa evidencia ya no está.
Our team is extremely experienced in helping people to go through the very traumatic process of realizing everything that they have lost. We have ways, as I said at the outset, this is not our first day. We've been doing this for a really long time. We will help people to account for all of their losses, even if the physical structure or the physical belongings are gone.
We also have a question in Spanish. If you want.
Nosotros tenemos expertos que les pueden ayudar a pensar en todas las pérdidas que ustedes enfrentaron y tomamos todas esas pérdidas en cuenta. Y tenemos una pregunta en español. ¿Dónde se hace la demanda? Where does the demand happen?
So we file the initial demand or the government claim with the city of San Diego itself. There's a time period during which they will process that claim.
Nosotros presentamos la demanda con la ciudad de San Diego y hay un tiempo en donde ellos van a procesar este reclamo.
And once they make a decision about whether to deny or accept that claim, we can then file a lawsuit if they decide not to compensate you. So the question was whether our firm can provide the resources and the support for individuals who maybe don't have transportation to get to their health care or to come to the law firm to help with their claim.
La pregunta es que si nosotros ofrecemos recursos para las personas que tienen dificultad consiguiendo transportación y ayuda de salud.
And the answer is yes, we do have those resources. We're also very well connected in the community regarding emergency transport services, and we often work with injured clients who have that exact situation where they can't get to their doctor's appointments or can't get to maybe the government services that they need provided. We're very happy to help with that.
A nosotros no tenemos ningún problema ayudándoles y al contrario nos alegra poder ayudarles. Tenemos varios casos donde tenemos clientes que se han lastimado, no pueden manejar o por cualquier razón no pueden transportarse, pero eso es algo en lo que definitivamente les podemos ayudar.
In the back, she's been waiting.
Mi pregunta es, en caso de que se va a ganar, pero en caso de que se vaya a un juicio, ¿cuánto es su costo si se va a un juicio? Es una de las preguntas.
The question is if we go to trial, do the fees up or is it more expensive?
No, it's 25% across the board, whether the city decides to pay your claim within the 6 months, whether we have to file the lawsuit, or whether we ultimately go to trial.
Dependiendo de lo que pase al final del día, va a seguir siendo el 25%, ya sea si la ciudad acepta o rechaza el reclamo y tenemos que ir a juicio, aún así va a seguir siendo un 25%.
And let me clarify one point on that. If you have insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, anything like that, that's your money.
Y para poder clarificar también, si usted tiene algún tipo de aseguranza de dueño de casa, de que usted renta, cualquier tipo de aseguranza, ese dinero es de ustedes y eso no es algo que conseguimos nosotros.
In other words, our fees are calculated off of the money we get from the city. We take zero of any money that's obtained from insurance.
Así que nosotros solo conseguimos ese porcentaje de lo que es lo que da la ciudad, no de lo que ustedes obtienen por su aseguranza o cualquier otro recurso.
1 second, sir. We're going to answer this.
We got a question. It says, at our apartment, there is no water line or mud line on the walls anymore, but I have video surveillance of the time lapse. Can this be used as evidence or used for measurement in any way?
La pregunta aquí de esta persona es que está diciendo que su apartamento no tiene ninguna línea de agua, pero sí tiene videos de cómo ocurrió la inundación. Así que la pregunta es que si se puede utilizar esto como evidencia también.
And yes, absolutely. any photographs, any video, no matter the quality, is helpful in us being able to assess the damage to your property.
Y la respuesta es que sí, esta sí es documentación, ya sea fotos, videos, no importa si sean de baja calidad, todo esto es necesario para poder accesar cuál fue el daño de su propiedad.
Gentleman in the back.
So your question, sir, is essentially how do you document your personal property? Sure. So the question is essentially how do you document all of these losses, personal property, your real property, your time off work, your medical expenses?
La pregunta aquí es cómo puede uno documentar todo lo que perdió, ya sea su ropa, el tiempo que no trabajó, costos adicionales, todo este tipo de propiedad que perdió.
So we will ask people to make a list of their personal property, which is a difficult task, we understand.
Nosotros les vamos a pedir que ustedes hagan una lista de todo lo que perdieron, que nosotros sabemos que es algo un poco difícil de hacer.
And we recommend you start on that list now while things might be fresher in your mind. But to support that list, if you have photos on your phone of maybe a family get-together where you can see the place where you lived, that can help support by looking in the background and seeing the furniture and seeing the other things in your home.
Pero nosotros recomendamos que empiecen ya a hacer esa lista, sabiendo que hace poco que ocurrió todo esto. También pueden utilizar fotos, por ejemplo, de ustedes en su sala, en su cocina, donde sea, y nosotros podemos ver ahí cuáles eran las cosas que tenía ahí antes.
And we also ask that you keep receipts from any added transportation, any doctor's visits that you had to pay out of pocket for. As far as medical records go, we can get those from the medical providers themselves, but to the extent they give you anything, please hold on to all that documentation.
También si tiene algunos documentos del doctor o récords médicos, nosotros podemos conseguir varios de ellos, pero recomendamos que nos dé lo que aún tiene.
Can I make a quick suggestion on that? One of the things I had mentioned to, I guess I can translate Spanish, but she can translate for me. One of the things I suggested to my neighbors on the first day was to take the photographs, do the thing. This was traumatic for all of us, and it was hard to even take some of the pictures because it was overwhelming of the things that were destroyed. But at that point, I said, take the pictures, and when you do have time, even though I know it took a while for us to do what we had to do, I tell them, a Word or Excel spreadsheet is magnificent, because that way you can document on your Excel spreadsheet, put like just say your personal belongings, photo, whatever you lost, and that way you can categorize also the amounts on the side to see how much value that was, your receipts, attach it to it with your photos on each one, so you have, I used to do mortgage insurance claims, so I know that pretty much my background is you have to have that backup, because it's like hearsay in court. It's just hearsay. But once you have that documentation to back up, like the chair, that chair, if you happen to have, which most people now, I'm sorry, going out.
No, it's okay.
I forgot you had to translate. Yeah.
En breve, varias de las cosas que recomienda es que sabemos que fue una situación muy traumática y no es necesariamente algo que uno tomó fotos con felicidad, pero sí recomendamos que tomen las fotos y ya que pase un poco de tiempo y estén en el estado mental de poder escribir todo. También recomienda que utilicen Excel, el programa de Excel, para poder hacer las listas de ropa, muebles, cualquier tipo de cosas. Y también quiero añadir que esto es algo en lo que también nosotros le podemos ayudar con una lista de Excel para que puedan, les ayudamos a pensar en cuáles eran las cosas que perdieron y fueron dañadas.
And we want to be clear, the way that you provide us the information, it doesn't matter, even if it's a handwritten list. For example, in the wildfires, people lose their entire home and all of their property, it's gone. And they don't always have photographs of everything that they owned. But we can still provide claim services on their behalf based on what they remember. So just because you don't have proof doesn't mean we can't claim it.
Y solo porque no tengan ningún tipo de documentación o pruebas de que tenían estas cosas, también les podemos ayudar a recordar de cosas que tenían en su memoria.
Yes, ma'am.
Por ejemplo, las personas, ¿me puedes traducir? Sí, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, las personas que rentamos, que todavía hay vecinos y yo que tenemos todavía cosas adentro, porque pues con la inundación no tenemos chance de sacar. qué va a pasar o que no se recomiendan sacar las cosas o dejar todo así.
Tuvo que evacuar y ya for renters who had to evacuate, they haven't been able to go in and get their property back out. So what do we recommend? What's the plan for that?
Sure. So for renters who haven't had that opportunity to go back in, as soon as you're able to go back in, we obviously ask that you document any damage that occurred, and then we're happy to meet with you individually about what your current situation is, if you are in that situation. So please come and find us afterwards, and we'd love to speak with you about where you've been staying.
En el momento que les den el permiso de ya poder regresar a su casa, tomen los documentos, fotos lo más rápido que puedan, y si quieren hablar un poco más en detalle, podemos hacer una consulta.
Two things. One on that. If you are a renter, most likely your landlord will also be trying to make some sort of an insurance claim, and they will have also probably documented some things. It's not everything, but it's a start.
Si está rentando, lo más probable es que el dueño de la propiedad también esté tratando de presentar algún reclamo con su aseguranza tal vez, así que puede ser que ellos también tengan un poco de documentación.
Before I move on, if you are in a red SUV parked in the driveway, you will be towed. Oh, and now we know who it was. Sorry, cameraman. I knew that was going to call somebody out. Okay. On this note, and I know we got a lot more hands, hang tight. Yeah, I had a Facebook question about what if you gave the keys back to the landlord and you didn't get a chance to take those pictures? What do you do?
Una pregunta es qué tal si ya le dieron sus llaves al dueño de su casa, si usted es alguien que está rentando, y qué es lo que se puede hacer.
And again, we can work with you on this. You are not the first person who we have represented who was in a rental, who suffered harm, and can't get back in. Okay? We will go to those properties. There will be inspections done. We will work to account for personal property losses.
Esto de nuevo son de casos que no son la primera vez que hacemos. Hemos trabajado con gente que renta antes, así que lo que podemos hacer es llevar a que hagan una inspección en el departamento, donde sea que estén viviendo, y es algo que sí les podemos ayudar, no importa que ya no tengan las llaves.
I'm going to answer two more here, and then I'll come back to the room. Is there assistance in completing the initial claim? Are we able to submit this for family members that are the homeowners?
Esto es un reclamo en el que nos van a ayudar y podemos mandar este reclamo por miembros de la familia que tampoco sean dueños de la propiedad.
The answer is, that's what we do. Can you fill out a government claim on your own? Absolutely.
La respuesta es que claro, esto es algo en lo que les podemos ayudar. Sí es posible que ustedes puedan llenar esto solo.
I would just ask, how many have you done before this? Because we have done thousands.
Pero mi pregunta es, ¿cuántas de esas formas han llenado ustedes? Porque nosotros hemos hecho miles.
And what I mean by that is, it is important that you include everything that you can in your claim, in addition to your theories of liability as to why the government is responsible. That's where we come in.
Por eso es importante que ustedes documenten todo lo que es que ustedes perdieron o fue afectado por la inundación, y es importante que incluyan toda su propiedad, y eso es en lo que nosotros les podemos ayudar.
And we also have individuals within our law firm who are former insurance property adjusters. We can assist you in making the insurance claim because we've hired people from the insurance company to work for us.
Y también tenemos personas que trabajan con nosotros, que antes trabajaban con aseguranzas, así que ellos tienen la experiencia para poder también ayudarles con su reclamo de aseguranza.
Another question that's a sad one, but a sad truth, which was, is there help available for people who have died as a result of this flood?
Y una pregunta muy triste, pero que es necesaria hacer, es que si hay recursos para personas que fallecieron por la inundación.
And the answer is, of course. Just because these claims involved, as you saw on our slides, property losses, business losses, renter losses, and tragically, losses of life.
La respuesta es que sí, porque aunque nosotros tomamos casos de gente que renta, dueños de casa, también tomamos en estos casos que alguien falleció de la manera equivocada.
All right, let's come back to the room. I had a couple folks over here. Sir in the black, you were waiting. Come to you.
¿Qué puede pasar si, o sea, a nosotros realmente ahorita pues, no tenemos dónde ir? El condado o la ciudad nos está ayudando con un voucher para un hotel. Entonces, en cierta manera nos está ayudando el condado, pero ¿qué pasa si yo en esto lo demando a él? O sea, ¿es como traicionarlo o...?
So the question is that they've been receiving vouchers from the city to stay in hotels since they can't go back into their home. So what would happen here if we do submit that claim and he does sue the county even though he received their help?
That's okay. At some point, the city is going to stop providing those vouchers. They always do.
No hay problema porque a cierto punto la ciudad ya no va a ayudar a la gente.
They may claim some sort of a credit against any claim for money they've already given you, but that may just be, it happens, that may be part of the process.
Puede ser que hagan un tipo de crédito en lo que les ha ayudado, pero esto es parte del proceso.
If your worry is, are they going to revoke them because you filed a claim, like to retaliate against you? The answer is they shouldn't, but we can make you no promises.
Si su preocupación es que, dado a que ustedes los demanda, aunque ellos le dieron esa ayuda a usted, si ellos vayan a atacar en contra de usted,
Yes.
no es algo que le podamos prometer que no vaya a pasar, pero le vamos a ayudar lo más que se pueda.
But that's why our collective power is so important, so that there's no retaliation on any of us, right? I dare them to take away your housing.
Por eso es muy importante que todos trabajemos juntos para colaborar, porque los más que somos de nosotros, lo más difícil que es para ellos contraatacar.
That's why you need a team with a big bullhorn. Go ahead, Mel.
So my question to you, because you all talked about the city. I live in the county,
Right.
and we got nothing. We didn't get pods, we didn't get assistance with housing, nothing. We lost just as much as everybody else did here. So my question to you, will you represent the county as well as just the city?
La pregunta aquí es que también fue dañada, pero ella vive en el condado, así que la pregunta es que si también se puede representar ellos y no solo la ciudad.
Short answer, yes. Let me explain. I had another note that I was going to follow up on this. Some people live in unincorporated areas, and I know some people I think are technically in National City, and we're also asking, well, I'm outside of San Diego, does this still apply?
La pregunta aquí en corto es que sí, hay personas que también vienen, por ejemplo, de National City, y es algo que también estamos investigando, tratando de averiguar.
If the, oh, we got a little spill? All right. Do you have some paper towels or anything? All right, okay. If, perfect. If the failure of the government's infrastructure harmed you and your home and your business, that is a claim that we will sign, we will investigate. What I can't tell you as I sit here right now is how the hydrology, how the civil engineering outside of the city of San Diego's infrastructure failed, because that's just not something that we have investigated as much as has already been done within the boundaries of the city.
Si estás fuera de la ciudad de San Diego, pero fuiste afectado por una inundación que fue causada por infraestructura fallada del gobierno, ese es un reclamo al que te podemos ayudar y podemos investigar, pero no sabemos tanto fuera de San Diego como ya hemos investigado dentro del condado de San Diego.
And let me be clear about something too. This is why these are a mass action. Not all claims, not all properties, not all liability is created equal.
Por eso es que estas son acciones masivas en vez de acciones de clase, porque cada quien tiene un caso individual que tiene que ser trabajado de manera diferente.
That's why we need data. That's why we need to see which parts of the infrastructure failed, which parts of the communities were impacted. So it's going to be an individualized claim and an individualized workup, whether you're within the city of San Diego, the city of National City, or unincorporated San Diego County.
Por eso,
Let her do that, and then I'll follow.
ya sea que estés en San Diego, en National City o una comunidad no incorporada, aún así es algo que nosotros podemos investigar y por eso estamos haciendo cada caso individual, ya que cada uno fue afectado diferente.
I will say this again goes back to your comment. Every claim is not the same. Every claim has to be analyzed separately. I'm not going to tell you that we are going to be able to help everyone who is harmed in this. That would not be an honest statement, and I told you, you get what you get with me. But I promise you that we will look at it, we will analyze it, we will have the right experts look into it, and then we will tell you whether or not it's something that we can proceed with or something we can't. Because if I was sitting in those seats rather than up here, I would want someone to give it to me as straight as we are going to give it to you.
Nosotros queremos ser honestos y decirle las cosas como son, así que por eso es que cada caso es individual y estamos investigando cada caso de manera diferente. No podemos prometerle a cada persona que esto es algo en lo que les podemos ayudar, pero por esa misma razón sí podemos hablar con ustedes, investigar y ver qué es lo que podemos hacer. Y si hay algo que se pueda hacer, lo haremos por ustedes, porque si nosotros estuviéramos en los asientos de ustedes, nosotros querríamos que alguien nos dijera la verdad.
All right, my boss Andrea is telling me I can take 2 more questions, but I'm here. We're not going anywhere. So I'm going to take a couple more here. I've got one here, and then anyone who has questions can come to us. Ma'am in the pink, I know you've been waiting for a while. I got you.
The question is, how soon can they receive some sort of emotional help, mental health? She's a single mom, and like other people who are in this room as well, they haven't been allowed to go back into their home, and they need to get their stuff.
The short answer, if you actually go our website, we have a landing page that is filled with resources that our social worker has already put out that can provide a lot of benefits that are currently available to people, and you can go click on it right now. That's the shortest answer I can give you.
En este momento tenemos una página web donde puede entrar y hay una lista de recursos. Yo ahorita después puedo ir con usted y le puedo enseñar la página web y dónde están los recursos para poder llamar.
And our intake specialists also have packets with information if you speak with them.
And our intake specialists who are here have those same packets of information with them here today, so anybody who needs it can get them. All right, I'm going to take one more. I have another one in writing I need to do. Gentleman in the back, I know have been waiting for a while, or his wife, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, you're talking about what we lost and usted como habla de que tiene expertos y eso. Si usted haga mi caso, ¿podría usted mandar un experto para saber qué está pasando en mi casa y cubrir todo eso? That's the hydro.
So the question is if we are able to send essentially experts into their property, even though they've already had some sort of expert come in. Who?
The city.
Well,
From the city.
and then she was waiting to hear back from them, and then she hasn't heard back from them at all.
Short answer, yes, that's what we do. But that's what we do for people who have retained us. I can't just send people, they would be trespassing if I sent them to your property without paperwork that says that. Last thing, and then we will be here. We're not going anywhere. Myself, my team will all be here. Please come, ask your individual questions. I will just say this very quickly. And, sorry.
En corto, la respuesta es que sí, pero tienen que ser nuestro cliente para poder ofrecerles esos servicios. Si no, estamos traspasando propiedad.
Okay, lastly, if you go to that QR code, it takes us directly to our intake. You can put your information there. You will hear back from us immediately. I have half of my intake team that works on the weekends here today, but there are people there answering phones and responding.
Aquí si ustedes escanean el código QR, les va a dar toda esta información para poder hablar con nuestro equipo de intake. También aquí nos estamos poniendo para poder ayudarles.
Perfect. Cool. Lastly, it was a note, if I signed up for the presentation today, do I have to register again with you? Yes. All you did by signing up was you RSVP'd. That does not make us your lawyers. We will...
Si te registraste, esto no nos hace no nos hace su cliente. Si quieres ser nuestro cliente, tiene que llenar el papeleo con nosotros.
We're going to stay here as long as we need to, so come see us. And if we can't get to you today, you have all of our contact information. Like I said, we are not going anywhere.
Venga a vernos, por favor, a platicar. Aquí está toda nuestra información y si no se puede poner en contacto con nosotros hoy, por favor, denos una llamada.
Okay. All right. So first I want to thank the attorney, Brett Schreiber, and his colleague, Dominique. I want to give the Mexican consulate an opportunity to make an announcement because they do also have resources that could be helpful to you right away. If you are in need of housing right now, please come talk to me. I'll be over there. There's no need to rush up here. If you want to talk to the attorney, you can take your time, get some food. They're not going anywhere. And then if you're not able to stay, don't worry about it. You can call and make an appointment with them to speak to them at your convenience. Patricia.
Muchas gracias, Andrea. Pues a nombre del Consulado de México, decirles tenemos también recursos para quienes hayan perdido sus documentos. Pueden acercarse al final a mi compañero Víctor o a mí. Tenemos una ventanilla de salud que proporciona asesoría psicológica, señora. También si quiere acercarse usted y quien tenga la necesidad al final. Y con gusto tomamos nota caso por caso para darles esos servicios. Muchas gracias. También vamos a dar seguimiento a través de la firma de Legal y de Andrea Guerrero para que tengan lo que les corresponden. Estamos seguros que esto va a tener un buen fin. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you so much. So go ahead and stretch your legs. There's coffee and food still downstairs, and if you're interested in talking with the attorneys, you can form a line.